Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to go through for what I picked up in match day 12 of the championship. Wow, we've got a lot to go through today. We've got some controversial goals, some shocking performances in terms of high and low standard of performances as well. We've some completely dramatic results and some dramatic games as well. We've also got a new batch of championship fixtures going on in midweek as well, which I'll predict in the second half of this video. If you like what you see and you want more championship content, please give the video a like, a share and a subscribe. All of that will be tremendously appreciated. By the way, if you want to have a chance of me shouting out your channel, you just got to do the following instruction. Leave a prediction in the comments down below. You can leave up to 1 or you can do all 12 to increase the chances of you getting a shout out. So if you want to have a chance to get a shout out, simply predict these fixtures. You can predict one, you can predict your favourite team, or you can predict all 12 if you wish. I only have managed to get 3 of my predictions correct, which I'm really surprised. I rarely get above 2. I managed to get the Cardiff and Sheffield Wednesday game, I managed to get the Leeds and Birmingham game, which I'm really proud of myself on now, and I got the Middlesbrough and West Brom game. But without any further ado, let's talk about 10 things that I learned about match day 12 of the championship. So to go on to the first thing that I pointed out on this week of championship football is that West Brom are playing like a promotion winning team. Now that's not me saying that they are playing some fantastic fluid football from the whole 90 minutes, because in my opinion, I think Middlesbrough got a little bit unlucky. Middlesbrough had a lot of chances and they had a shot deflected which hit the bar as well. They were really unlucky not to go ahead in the start. Sam Johnston was their hero in the game. But West Brom, however, did continue to probe and to offer many chances about using their pace as well. Eventually, they got their goal from Hal Robson-Kanu. I don't think there was much Darren Randolph could have done. There's some people saying that he should not have spilled it like that, but it was really difficult. But it was a deflected shot. He could really do a lot about it. But in my opinion, West Brom aren't playing like a promotion winning team, not necessarily playing at their best, but when they're not playing at their best, they're still grinding results, more importantly. And that's exactly what West Brom are doing. And from that, they are now first place in the championship, 2 points currently ahead of Leeds United. Do I think West Brom are favourites? I truly think they are. I think they're playing with the resilience that they can win every game. Whether they will finish first is another question. I think the likes of Leeds, potentially Nottingham Forest can challenge them, maybe even Charlton. They could even challenge West Brom. But in my view, I think West Brom are going to be very clear favourites in getting the top 2. With Middlesbrough, however, it was a really unlucky game for them, and their performances lately have shown a little bit of promise, but it's when they've performed below par, they've not managed to create much, they've not scored many goals, and as a result of that, they are only just above the relegation zone. So Jonathan Woodgate's going to need to put his team into gear. So let's talk about the second thing that I pointed out on this week of championship football, and I think Swansea have lost their form a little bit. Now, Swansea did take the lead against Barnsley under Andre Ayew. He was the main contributor to how Swansea managed to get forward in this game. But in my opinion, Barnsley started fantastically well. Barnsley had so many good chances to try and take the lead. Woodman in goal did really well to keep them out. Collie Woodrow had a fantastic chance. In the end, it was Andre Ayew bursting forward with a lot of pace as well, and he got the goal in the end. It was a really nice finish from him. Barnsley, however, equalised very soon afterwards under Moat. I think it was a really good goal from him in the end, and I thought it was exactly what Barnsley deserved. At times, I think Barnsley have played well. Since they didn't win, they are now sat in the foot of the championship. The thing is with Barnsley, they've not managed to keep a clean sheet since the game before the last international break, which was against Wigan. They're going to have to really try and improve defensively and to score more goals offensively if they're going to increase their chances of survival. With Swansea, they're not killing the game as easily as they are now. They're struggling to gain more control, in my opinion, and they're not forcing many chances through. And I think teams are being a lot more compact, and that's being able to keep Swansea out. And it really did keep Swansea out of the game from the large majorities of it. So yeah, Swansea have lost their form. They are still in the playoffs as it stands because of their fantastic start. However, they've got to be very cautious that they haven't won now in 2 games. We're going to have to pull their socks off and to try and get some results as soon as they can, because they cannot afford to lose ground. The third thing that I pointed out from this weekend of Championship football is to focus towards Friday's game. In my opinion, it was a game of two halves. Now, if I were to get specifics, I think Sheffield Wednesday controlled around 60 minutes of a game, so I have to say around 2/3. Cardiff got into the final third with all guns blazing. Sheffield Wednesday played some fantastic stuff at the time. I watched it live at the time, and I was really encouraged for what I've seen. Sam Hutchinson is such a player. Even though he got booked for a silly challenge that he did, in the midfield, he was driving people forward. He was pushing the team forward. Likes of Adam Reach looked really good as well. And I got to say, the former Cardiff player, Kadeem Harris, I thought he was absolutely terrific. There was one moment where he had to block Josh Murphy from scoring, and he literally wrapped his whole body around him, put his body on the line to try and block a shot, and that's the sort of desire that I wanted to see from that side. Sheffield Wednesday deservedly took the lead. At first I thought it was an Aidan Flint own goal, but it actually came with Julian Borner's foot in the end, and Etheridge couldn't do a lot about it. Etheridge did look a little bit shaky in goal, I can't lie. I think he was still trying to get a recovery from his injury. Of course, he was injured since the opening day of the season. He looked okay at times, he just looked a little bit shaky. The weakness for Sheffield Wednesday was the fact they didn't have Kieran Westwood in goal. For me, Dawson did alright. He made a fantastic save in around the 88th minute, keeping Cardiff from scoring the winner. However, he looked really vulnerable with set pieces. He looked very tentative in trying to catch the ball, especially from corners. And eventually, Cardiff, as I predicted, scored from a set piece. And it was a fantastically taken free kick by Luke Tomlin in the 87th minute. However, having said that, should it have been a goal? Because the controversy in this was how the goal came about. Aidan Flint, I could only describe, was doing star jumps right in front of Dawson's view. Now, what was really interesting after the game, Gary Monk was not pleased with Aidan Flint at all, but Neil Warnock encouraged it. That's his method of trying to make the keeper feel uneasy about it. So I'd be interested to hear Gary Monk's reaction to Neil Warnock's reaction to it. But for me, I think it is a goal. I can understand why it's unfair because Dawson's not their number one goalkeeper for Wednesday. I think Kieran Westwood, with the experience he's had, he would have dealt with that a lot better. But yeah, his positioning for the free kick was really poor. If he was more central, he probably would have had a chance to save it, but it was a brilliantly taken free kick by Tomlin regardless. Overall, Sheffield Wednesday started well but didn't end too well. Cardiff really struggled to get going. Warnock had to make a 30-minute substitute and brought on off Bakuna and to bring on Ward because things were just not working. Bakuna, I think, was really angry on the touchline as well after that substitution. It was really as poor as I've seen Cardiff since some dismal games in the Premier League. They were absolutely atrocious in the first 30 minutes. And I think Warnock made a fantastic decision bringing Ward on, and of course bringing Tomlin on later, who managed to score their only goal in the game. So I have to say, tactically, I think Warnock is getting it right. I think with Wednesday, they'd be very disappointed they didn't get more than 3 points in this game because majority, they deserved it overall. They made some fantastic chances. Their playing was really good. What was really lacking was just a final pass in the final third to almost seal the deal. They were not ruthless enough, but I think this game will give them a really good lesson that they need to be more ruthless against teams. The fourth thing that I've picked up is that, in my opinion, Huddersfield are not resolved yet. Now, Huddersfield have improved, really improved since the Cowley brothers came in. They're playing with fight for once, and it's really encouraged me to see. I'm seeing elements of when Huddersfield were in the Premier League in their first season, taking each game with so much desire. The game overall was really entertaining. It first started with Grant scoring a penalty. Was it a penalty? I'm not too sure. At first I thought it was, but then when I look at the replay, I thought it was very minimal contact. And I thought it was really harsh for the penalty to be given in the first place. But Callum Grant, doing what he does best, scored the penalty, and Huddersfield were ahead. And I have to say, Huddersfield from the first 20 minutes were really dominant. Blackburn eventually grew into the game, and it took the 20th minute precisely by Holtby to score the first goal. How it came about was really embarrassing for Huddersfield. They gave away the ball by trying to play out from the back, and it was such an easy finish for Bradley Dack providing the assist, with it just being a tap-in. Bradley Dack then scored an absolute beauty to put Blackburn ahead for the first time, and again, a fantastic goal. It didn't even look like he had to get much power. He passed it from outside the box and got into the right corner of the net. No keeper would have been saving those. It was a fantastic goal from Dak. And I thought from then on, Blackburn were going to be a lot more confident. They're going to control the game more and they're going to put the game to bed. They didn't do that at all. They invited Huddersfield to get back into it. And it's Bakuna who managed to score in the second half. A nicely worked goal from him. And I think overall it was a pretty even contest, and I think the draw was probably the right result if you judge the balance of the game. Huddersfield looked great in parts and Blackburn looked great in parts, but with Blackburn being at home, I think they'll be very, very disappointed that they didn't manage to get 3 points out of it. With Huddersfield though, they haven't resolved it because defensively they've still looked a little bit fragile, especially down the wings. The likes of Stuart Downing were having so much joy down there, but it's a work in progress. So I think Huddersfield are getting better, but they're not quite resolved yet. And as for Blackburn, they'll be very, very feeling hard done by they didn't get a win, especially at Ewood Park. So the fifth thing that I pointed out from this weekend of Championship football is that Stoke have finally found their form. Stoke are actually performing well and getting results now, which is really, really encouraging. This encouraging run of 2 wins and 2 have lifted Stoke from the foot of the Championship table. They started right off the mark with Tyrese Campbell going ahead in 16 minutes in. And I think Stoke deserved this win because Stoke managed to play a fantastic game. They really were dangerous on the counter-attack. I saw a stat, I think Fulham managed to complete the most passes of the Championship so far. Like, they've completed over 1,000 more than any other Championship side, which is madness. But I'm getting similar vibes with Fulham that I'm getting with Sarri Ball. Getting a lot of passing, but being very, very slow and lethargic and being very, very predictable and going forward. Fulham need to be more ruthless, and they didn't really test Stoke all that much in my eyes. For me, Stoke were the biggest threat when they managed to find their gaps. And on the counter-attack as well, that was how they managed to get a penalty as well. Otherwise, Scott Hogan would have had the simplest of tasks of slotting it in. And then Lee Gregory managed to score the penalty, and then they won 2-0. It was a performance that really encouraged me. It was a really, really poor performance from Fulham in my eyes. Even though they had much of the possession, they did not use it to great effect. I thought Fulham were going to really capitalise and use their attacking threat to really put Stoke under pressure on their defence, which has looked really, really shaky in their past few games. But they didn't really do that at all. They couldn't really get through this Stoke side. On the other hand, with Stoke though, they are really, really showing some encouraging signs that they could potentially get out the bottom 3. And they could potentially do that if they get a really, really good result in their midweek game. So the sixth thing that I pointed out in this game is featured in one of the lowest scoring games, but a very, very significant game. Preston North End need to improve on their away record and fast. If Preston want to be a promotion rivals or even a playoff rivals that many Preston fans are really excited about, they've got to improve on their away record. They really, really should have taken their chances more against Reading. They had a really good spell in the first few 10 minutes of the game, but since then they really allowed Reading to get into the game, and in fact for most of it I think Reading deserved the win overall. They had the better chances in my eyes. In the end, the goal was a really, really scrappy goal. It came from a shot from outside the box which Declan Rudd made a great, great save for, but then it was caught on the volley by Miazga, which unfortunately for Rudd he could not keep out, and it trickled past into the net in the 98th minute of the game as well. I don't know how they managed to get that stoppage time from. I think many players could have had lengthy stoppages from injuries or something, but they somehow had over 8 minutes of added time, and Miazga used every minute of that time to good effect. Reading with that win are now outside the bottom 3. I'm not too convinced that they are not going to be in there. I think if they were going to show me that they can not be a relegated team, I would have said they needed to take more of their chances, because they should have probably scored more against Preston in my eyes. Preston had a really, really off day. And I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on Preston when they play against Leeds in midweek. This is potentially going to be a promotion 6-pointer. Any team wins, they're in a great position. But any team loses, it could be a really huge setback for their season. So the seventh thing that I pointed out is that Charlton continued using the Valley as a fortress. It was a terrific performance by Charlton, showing that they are not slowing down after the international break. Macaulay Bonne scored immediately, a very, very nice goal from him. Sarr managed to score in the second half by a header. But then Conor Gallagher undoubtedly scored the best goal of that game. He's been in unbelievable form. And it's almost like, I can't believe Chelsea didn't give this guy a chance. I hope he actually gets a chance next season, because so far he's been shown a lot of potential. Derby, however, looked less than inspiring. I've been hearing reports that the performance was embarrassing. It was only, I think, Bielik who had a half chance that Phillips had to make an easy save for. The rest of the time, Derby looked really flat. They lacked any sort of functionality in the midfield. Charlton just completely ran riot. They made Derby look like that they were the team promoted from League One and not Charlton. They are performing like a house on fire. They are drawing points with Preston North End at the moment, only just missing out in the playoffs by goal difference. They could potentially sneak in there. They really can if they can keep this performance up. With Derby though, aspirations of top 6 are just fading away really quickly. They lost their unbeaten record of 5 games. They've got to really pull their finger off and find a star that's going to make them score some goals, because they don't look like scoring. Or what's worse, they don't look like that they can defend either. So it's all going wrong for Derby at the moment. Koku's got to figure out something, otherwise he'll be under intense pressure. So the 8th thing that I've picked out is a positive point. Luton had the game of their lives, but Bristol City, what on earth happened? I mean, I think Bristol City had an off day personally. They really didn't create anything that really troubled Sluga. But Luton overall, they were absolutely riot. A little bit similar to Charlton Derby, I think, in terms of how the game. Luton completely ran riot and they made Bristol City look like the team that they were just promoted from League One and not Luton Town themselves. I said that this was the game I was looking forward to the most. It probably wasn't the most dramatic game, however, it was one of the more shocking games. I didn't expect Luton to repeat that 2005 scoreline of 5-0 between Bristol City, even though they didn't. I have to say Daniel Benny probably prevented that from happening. He had to get pulled in a couple of times and made some very important saves. Izzy Brown again has looked terrific, obviously a former Chelsea boy as well. He's looked absolutely terrific, and he managed to set up Harry Cornick for the second goal where he was practically 1-on-1. What happened to the defence there? I don't have any explanation for. He was put 1-on-1. How? I have no idea. But Paul Rodder managed to score the first one in the 56th minute. A really nice goal from him. And Ashley Williams, a player that Bristol City managed to get a part of the transfer, put the nail in the coffin and scored an own goal in the end. Pretty unfortunate for him. But Luton, I'd say, got a very deserved win. They showed that they can compete in this league. With Bristol City, they have lost their unbeaten run since the start of the season. They've got to make sure they don't go on a losing streak now, because it's very Bristol City like when they have a really bad loss, they go on a bad losing streak. If they can win their next game in midweek, I'd say Bristol City could have really good chances of being playoffs. But if they perform like that every week from now, no chance in my opinion. But Luton, however, I can see them getting a really comfortable finish in the Championship. They've got to perform like that every single week if they can. Even though I've criticised them more or less defensively, Bristol City didn't really have to test them defensively. So maybe against teams that had more of an attacking threat, they need to make sure that they are still tight defensively. But attacking wise, I have no worries with them at the moment. So to the penultimate thing that I pointed out, Leeds celebrated their centenary in style. They managed to get a typical 1-0 home victory against Birmingham. They managed to compete for each other, and I'd say Leeds definitely did deserve the win. They had a lot of possession, as you'd expect from Marcelo Bielsa. In the first half, it looked like it was going to be same old. They had many chances. Camp made a few saves. Patrick Bamford had a chance that just whiskered past the post, and there was a chance where he laid a nice flick onto Helder Costa, but he didn't manage to score either. Nketiah was brought on for Bamford in the second half. I didn't see a lot of change, but I think what he provided was a lot more energy and a lot more pace in the team. There was more urgency within the team. They didn't panic that they weren't scoring it, and eventually they got their reward from who more appropriate than Leeds born or Leeds bred Calvin Phillips to score the goal. Birmingham didn't really compete with the game. I think they were more overwhelmed with the occasion, and they practically only had one chance from outside the box, which wasn't even on target in the end. But Leeds did deserve the win. I'll be very interested in how they respond against Preston away, because that's going to be a really tough game for them. But if they can dominate the play and can potentially put Preston under a lot of pressure defensively, I'd say Leeds could be in a good run of form. And I did say that they tend to start well whilst they have a break. They need to try and get through a whole period before another international break playing like that. If they lose games before the next international break, they're going to have a very inconsistent run of form, and it's going to ultimately prevent them from being promoted in my eyes. So the final thing that I picked up, and I think people are already thinking, how on earth is he not talking about a specific game yet? In my eyes, Brentford versus Millwall was just a typical championship game. It had drama, it had controversy, it had everything. Brentford dominated the match in my eyes. Brentford managed to get a penalty very early on, but Ollie Watkins missed it after Bilkowski saved it. Really good save from him. And since then, it looks like that they were going to pay for it. Tom Bradshaw managed to score their only 4th goal in open play so far this season for Millwall, which I think is really surprising. It was quite a fortunate goal as well. It took Raya spilling a shot, which I think he could have done better with. But Tom Bradshaw managed to capitalise, and Millwall were winning in half time. And then it got even better for Millwall. They had a penalty of their own, and they managed to score it, with Jed Wallace putting them 2-0 up. However, it took the 84th minute from Josh Da Silva to give something to Brentford. They eventually broke the deadlock. Then Mbumio managed to equalise, and then Ollie Watkins, rectifying his ways from that missed penalty, managed to win it for Brentford in the 94th minute. There was 3 goals in 10 minutes for Brentford. The final 10 minutes, in my eyes, including stoppage time, it was an absolutely dramatic game. Millwall had the game done and dusted away from home as well, so it would have been a fantastic victory. They were keeping a clean sheet as well. Brentford scored 3 in 10 minutes, and they ultimately turned the game on its head. It was a fantastic game. I didn't anticipate it to be this game, to be a dramatic game, but it turned out to be this one. So in my eyes, that was the game of the weekend. Brentford versus Millwall. Talk about other things as well. I'm going to give you my goal of the weekend. In my eyes, there's a few candidates that could have got this award. I think in the end, I'm going to give it to Conor Gallagher of Charlton. I think the precision of that shot was just amazing. I've heard some Derby fans saying that Kelly Reece should have stayed behind the line and he could have saved it. I think even behind the line, he would have really struggled to save it. In my eyes, those are just some shots you just cannot stop. So in my eyes, I think Conor Gallagher for Charlton gets my goal of the weekend. In terms of the result of the weekend, I mean, I told you my game of the weekend, but in terms of my result for the weekend, there's plenty to choose from. I think I'm going to give it to Luton Town, because I didn't anticipate Luton scoring 3 goals, and I didn't anticipate them getting a result against Bristol City as well, who looked like that they were never going to lose after their opening loss against Leeds. But they managed to expose a lot of weaknesses in that Bristol City side. So in my eyes, I think Luton Town gets my result of the weekend. In terms of the player of the weekend, this is really difficult for me. I'm going to give it to Eberechi Eze. Now, I didn't feature my reaction with Hull and Queen's Park Rangers, and this is why I'm going to include it now. I think Eze was fantastic for QPR. QPR had a few weaknesses defensively, which is ultimately why Hull scored 2. Eze scored 2 penalties and was heavily involved in the first goal as well. I think with the contribution he adds to the team and the fact he limped Queen's Park Rangers over the line to get this win, I'm going to give my player of the weekend to Eberechi Eze, but he only just gets it. A few good ones miss out this weekend. So now to the second part of this video, me predicting midweek championship fixtures. Let's go to Tuesday's games first. Birmingham Blackburn, I think this will be really tight. I think this will be a 2-1 home victory to Birmingham though. Millwall and Cardiff's interesting. I do believe that Millwall have the capability of beating Cardiff. However, I think this will be a 1-1 draw. Preston and Leeds, I think, is going to be the game of midweek. It's going to be a promotion 6-pointer. And I think they'll cancel each other out. I'm anticipating a very entertaining 2-2 draw in this game. Queen's Park Rangers and Reading is also intriguing. But I do think Queen's Park Rangers will deal with Reading comfortably and deal with them by 2-1. Bearing in mind that Queen's Park Rangers have not kept a clean sheet yet, I'm not going to make the mistake that I did on Friday in predicting that they were going to get a clean sheet against Hull. Sheffield Wednesday and Stoke is going to be really tough because Sheffield Wednesday showed a lot of promise against Cardiff, and Stoke are in the run of their lives at the moment. They could beat Sheffield Wednesday. I can really see them doing it. At the same time, I can also see Sheffield Wednesday really dealing with Stoke. I think this will be a 1-1 draw though. I think they'll cancel each other out in this game. Swansea and Brentford. Now, these are two teams that I wasn't too convinced by, although Brentford showed terrific fight in the game against Millwall. Swansea, though, been struggling lately. I do think Swansea do have it in them to beat Brentford, though. I'm going to say a 2-1 home victory. West Brom and Barnsley. It's literally 1st versus 24th. Could be absolute carnage, although Barnsley could have a really, really good performance. I really shocked West Brom. I do think West Brom will deal with them pretty comfortably. I'm going to say a 3-0 home victory to West Brom. Now let's go to Wednesday's games. Bristol City and Charlton. That is going to be a really entertaining game, I think. Charlton have the fight, but Bristol City have also looked really, really good at home. I think this will be a draw, and I'm actually thinking it's going to be a 0-0 draw. I have a little bit of an instinct that they're going to be really, really defensive in this game, so I think this will be a 0-0. Derby Wigan. I don't think this is as far apart as some people may suggest. Wigan right now are beating Nottingham Forest, and Derby have just been really, really struggling to get any sort of form going. I'm going to say that this will be, I'm going to say a 2-1 home victory to Derby. I think their home form's been alright, even though they may have not looked convincing. I think Wigan do have the capability of beating Derby, so I think they'll win by 2-1. Fulham Luton, very, very interesting. Two really high-scoring teams going against each other. Luton away from home now, I'm not too sure about them, so I'm going to say a 2-0 home victory to Fulham. Huddersfield Middlesbrough. I think whoever loses that game will be in a relegation zone after midweek. That is a very key game, along with Preston Leeds. I'm going to predict that Huddersfield will get a 1-0 home victory. I can see them keeping a clean sheet in this game. I think Middlesbrough are going to ultimately try and create, but I don't think they've got the quality to do so. I think Huddersfield will have a bit more confidence, and I think they'll win by 1-0. Finally, Nottingham Forest and Hull. It's intriguing. I think this will be really, really tight. I think Nottingham Forest will edge it and get a 2-1 home victory. So over there are my predictions for midweek of the championship. Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments. What are your predictions for midweek's predictions? Let me know in the comments down below for a chance of a shout out as well. If you like what you see and you want more championship content, please give the video a like, a share and a subscribe. All of that will be tremendously appreciated. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this frantic weekend of championship football. And as always, take care.